Hi guys! Oh, there's no one here. Hello, I've got one person locked in. Hi guys, really looking forward to this. Two people. Hello guys. Say hello to me on the comments box. Why do I always want to say comics blocks? All the time. All the time. My top says cuteness overload. I hope no one's trying to disagree with that. I'll probably keep running that one. Oh, hello guys, welcome to the Pi Radio session masterclass. 5 people locked in. As per usual, we're just gonna wait a little while to get a few more people locked in. Let me know though who's in the house. Yo, how you doing? I'm good, thank you very much. How are you? It's a very sunny day, guys. Let me know what you've been doing. Thank you for taking out the time of your sunny day to lock in. Deep. It's love. I'm very hot. I'm very hot in here. How did you guys spend your day? Did anyone do anything fun? Right, we're just gonna keep waiting for people to lock in. We'll give it until like 35 and I'll review how many people are in here for us to get started. But once again, guys, thank you for joining on such a hot day. It's meaningful. It's hot in here though. Hello, hello. Hi, guys. About 2 more minutes and I think we'll get going. Guys, are you guys as hot as I am? Not like that. Even though my top does say cuteness overload. You like that one? Right, I'm gonna get started in literally 1 minute, guys. You know what I mean? Everyone else can watch back, watch back. Pi Radio's masterclasses for free. So if you're in here and you feel like you know a friend who's gonna really like this, tell them to tell a friend to tell another friend. 1 more minute and we'll just get going. All right, guys, it is nearly that time. You're locked in with me, Queen Tantan. Guys, I literally have not been on radio show for a while. I would usually go, you're locked in with me, your girl Tantan. Okay, so it's 35 past, and I said I was going to start at 35 past, so I'm going to start now. You're locked into Pi Radio's Masterclass, and today's one is all about social media production, which is funny enough a job. It wasn't even a job, like, gosh, probably not even in all my lifetime. Probably like 6 years ago, I'd say it wasn't a job. So our guest today is Rohan. I'm gonna bring him in, guys, and then he can introduce himself.
Oh,
Hello, how are you, Rohan? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm jealous of your studio. It's looking very slick. I don't feel like my background is doing this justice.
Do you know what? What I'm gonna say is clearly this studio is doing a lot, but you do have deco there. I can see that little heart in the background in the mirror. I
Oh
I
yeah.
like it. Yeah, I like it personally. That's good. That's good for me. How are you? It's so hot today.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. I'm loving it. I'm actually in Manchester at the minute, normally in London, but yeah, this is nice to see Manchester so sunny.
And let's just get started on that because this is a really special one. Like social media masterclasses, third one, and we've got a Manny Man. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, money on the map. Bradley, thank you so much for locking in this hot weather. Guys, we're going to be operating probably on a small house, but that doesn't matter. Everyone can watch it back. Just because I think everyone's like, just too hot. Just too hot. But yeah, let's get started. So, Rowan, you are a social media producer at
Mhm.
One Extra.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. So I'm the head of social media for One Extra, and
Sick.
that's basically so day to day kind of things I do is just posting on the accounts, keeping them running. So this could be making a video clip from one of our on air shows. It could be reflecting what's happened in the news. If there's anything kind of in the One Extra scene that's happened, I'll reflect it on our accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's running the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook account. So on a
Okay.
day to day, it's like just keeping it going. But there's a lot of other really cool stuff as well, like planning the social media for One Extra Live, so our yearly concert, which has like tens of thousands of people attending. So like,
Yeah.
how do we promote that concert in the run up? How do we promote it? What do we do with all the guests backstage, where we've got all this talent in one place? It could be so every year we fly out to Jamaica for a week in February. So it's like running the content while being in Jamaica, doing like Instagram stories, making IGTV pieces, just like showing off what we're getting up to.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it's a lot. It's like filming with artists, just
Yeah.
general keeping the accounts going. It could be even going behind the scenes at a music festival. So last year, before this lockdown business, did behind the scenes at the ends, behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes at Notting Hill Carnival, Strawberries and Cream, even in Park Life in Manchester. So
Sick.
myself and the assistant were going around the festival trying to get with a presenter trying to get people to do silly things. We got one guy called Jacob to do a mudslide, so he like slid on
Oh,
his back
yeah,
in
slid
the
down the mud.
mud. so
Gosh.
so yeah,
It
it's a
sounds
cool
hectic, but
job.
it sounds really fun. Jamaica.
Yeah, so that's the best bit. That's the highlight by far. Um, so that is
Wow.
a madness. We've done stuff like been to like Sean Paul's studio a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah.
Went to like Capleton's house, seen Budgie Banton perform like live for a small audience.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's definitely like the highlight.
Doesn't really sound like you've been working, to be honest. It doesn't. Guys, for everyone who's just locked in, I can see that we've got some added guests. Thank you guys for joining us here. It is hot, so we really, really appreciate that you are taking out this time, but we're going to make it worth it. So this is the Pi Radio Masterclass, and we've got Rowan, who is a social media content producer at One Extra. So more about that. I know you just told me all about kind of like how great your job is, which I love. And not everyone gets to have a good job that they absolutely adore, which is good. Which is exactly why we run things like this, because we want to give more people the knowledge to maybe eventually aspire and reach out for them jobs that they really like. So with that being said, there's something special about you. Let me just tell you there's probably loads of things special about you actually, but the particular thing I'm talking about is how you started. We've had a lot of guests on this show, loads of experience, but one thing that's special is you are from Manchester and you started at a community station,
I
right?
did, I did.
Yeah.
So I started off when I was 13. I did a youth slot on a community station called All FM. So that's still around today. That's based in Levenshulme. and I did a weekly 2-hour show with my mate Josh. And in the end, they just couldn't kick us off, so we ended up doing it for like 7 years. Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. just before drive time. And I did this when I went uni. I did like a uni show as well. So from this experience, I used it to get my foot in the door to BBC with an internship scheme. The internship scheme was through something called Creative Access, which I'd recommend everybody to go check out after this and see what vacancies they have at the minute, because they are a really, really good organisation to help you get your foot in the door. But yeah, community radio is how I got here today.
Right. Firstly, you've already given us your first piece of advice. That is Creative Access. That's really good. That's not just advice; it's a resource. Wow, Rohan. All I can say is I've applied for Creative Access a good 5 times, 6 times in my life. And I've got loads of friends when I'm at work who have come through Creative Access. And honestly, I would say that if you can manage to crack Creative Access, one, they have amazing opportunities. And number two, like, skilled individuals. So let's get to that. Like, obviously, you were working at community radio. What experiences did you have that you managed to put on paper that helped you get that Creative Access opportunity and propelled you further?
So I guess the biggest thing that I took from community radio, which is how I've got here today, doing the job that I do now, is we were the most listened to show on the station. And that's because we were the youngest show, and what we were doing was using social media to promote our show. So this is back in the day now. This is like using MySpace to bombard people with messages that were going live, like using MSN Messenger to like message all our friends saying we're on air now. Give us a comment if you want to shout out. Like using Facebook and Facebook events, using promoting the show on Mixcloud, on SoundCloud, and using all these digital platforms. We were by far the most listened to show on the station. Like we weren't the best show. We were young. We didn't really know what we were doing, but just because I was marketing the show so well, we were getting more clicks than anybody else. And then when I went for like my interview for BBC Sport, that's how I sold myself.
Okay, cool. I feel like that's really interesting that you use that to sell yourself, because I think sometimes when you're applying for jobs, I think I'm kind of guilty of this sometimes. You overlook the experiences that you've had. You're kind of like, well, I did this, but so it's really important to, no matter where you were, like, you know, absolutely use that. So that's the next piece of advice that you've already given us there. So that's amazing. But I wanted to touch on what you just said right there, which was, you know, like, you wasn't the best show. I find that, you know, in this day and age especially, you don't actually have to be the best at something, which is sad for other people who are really good at what they do, or really good for other people who are not the best at what they're doing, because it doesn't actually mean that you have to be the best. It's about how hard you work and how much you believe in what you're doing. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. And I think when I was like 13, 14 doing this community show, I was like going the extra mile. Like I wasn't getting paid to do this, but I was going the extra mile and putting highlights of the show on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, like getting guest DJs, getting guest MCs from across Manchester and getting them to promote the show as well. So I think just really making the most of that opportunity, and then knowing how, when I go into an interview, knowing how to sell myself using what I've done in community radio. That's really how I got my foot in the door.
Okay, sick. Love that. Again, we had this last week for anyone who tuned in. You know, it's about taking every single experience that you're having and making sure that it's the best experience ever. Like, it's, you know, pushing yourself in that experience and not just taking it lightly. So I love that you've re-said that and guys, do you know what? I can't. Reiterated that. Sometimes I just literally get a tongue tie. It's really awkward. But yeah, forgive me, guys. So a lot of the questions were kind of, how did you get into radio? So, okay, now you finished that, you've applied for, did you say BBC Sport?
Yeah, so it was a creative access internship, but it was with BBC Sport, in radio.
Okay, just BBC Sport in radio, not social media.
No, it was a broadcast assistant job, which is, I think they call it a team assistant in other radio stations. So it's like the entry level position, doing like very basic tasks. But every so often they'd let me take over 5 live social media accounts, and this could be tweeting along for a high profile boxing match or a Premier League game, or even just like a talk based show, and then making highlights from the studio footage. So yeah, using that I then managed to, like, social media was the bit I most enjoyed, like video editing, composing social posts, and from that I got a promotion to being the social media producer for a 5 Live show called 606, which is like a football phone-in show hosted by Robbie Savage on Saturdays, Ian Wright, Kelly Cates on Sundays. And then from that, I got another promotion to doing a Question the Sport social media, which is a BBC One show. So I guess, like, when my internship wasn't really social media, but I found a way to kind of like do that anyway, because that's what I loved.
Okay, cool. Just based on that, like, advice for somebody who's maybe in an internship, managed to get themselves in the door, but how do you network yourself into like exactly where you'd rather be, or even not just, it might not be where you would like to be. Like you said, you got to know a few people, you moved around teams. Any advice on, moving teams, and how do you get to that team, and, what do you do when you're in a new team, all that stuff?
Yeah, so I guess using the 606 job, for example, my friends just knew they were looking for someone. So I like emailed the producers of the show straight away. I was like, I'm Rohan, this is what I do. I know how to use all the software already. I'm already logged into the accounts. I'm your man. So it's just like putting yourself out there. And I think I was very lucky because I was recommended that through a friend who also worked in BBC Sport. So yeah, it's just putting yourself out there. And also when I got my first job in the BBC, I also, while I was there, I applied for a lot of internal vacancies, which you can only do when you're actual
Yes,
BBC employee.
I know about that one.
So it's tough because the toughest thing is getting your foot in the door, because a lot of the job roles at places like the BBC are internal only. So I was never shy to apply for other roles while I was still doing my internship, because even though if you didn't get them, which I didn't get a lot of them, I've been for a lot of jobs and not got them, you still get 30 minutes to tell the heads of a department how good you are.
Yeah.
So it's always worth it, even if you don't get the job.
Yeah. It's even good interview practice, to be honest, like just going for boards
Exactly.
and just getting used to exactly, what you might be faced with next time. So that's another good tip. I'm loving these tips so far. They're really nice and practical and resourceful. Because I feel like the good thing about having you here is we've had loads of people who had, years and years of experience, and you've got experience, maybe not as long, but what you've also got is like relate. Guys, can we see what's going on with me today? Goodness me, relatability. We can all kind of look to you and put ourselves in your shoes. I mean, you've not far started, so that, I don't know. It must be the heat, because I cannot get any of my words out. I'm really, really sorry. Guys, if you have any questions, put them in the comments box and I will have a look at them. I don't know what is going on. Like, I'm literally just tripping over every single word. Okay, but so Rohan, we've kind of spoken a little bit about, how you got into the BBC, how you networked yourself through the BBC. I've got like a weird question now. So social media, for a lot of people my age or even younger than me, or people, just a bit above me as well, is so obvious. Like, it's such an obvious choice. We already know what social media is. We're so social, like, we're literate in that. We get it. How is that a job? Because a lot of people, this wasn't a job a long time ago, was it? Not even a long time ago. It wasn't a job recently, yeah.
No, it's wild. It definitely wasn't a job when I was doing community radio, that's for sure. But now it's not just a job for the media, like train companies, like any kind of high street shop, public services, all got social media people running their social media accounts in paid roles. So even in charity work. So it's mad. It's just like a new form of marketing and advertising, basically, like a new strand of that. But yeah, for me personally, I really enjoy working on it, because it's just like a really, really creative, gives you a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah. Is there regulations just on that? Because you said that creative freedom. Do you guys have regulations when you are? This is a bit of a out there question, but do you have regulations when you are working on social media? Is it the same as broadcast or not?
Yeah, definitely. So you've got to remain impartial, because you're representing the voice of the BBC when you're on these accounts. you can't really be offensive in any way. You can't offend your audiences. You don't want any backlash. So you are really, and I guess in any job, you're on social media, but it is you're completely representing your brand. So you've got to be careful about what you do, because this is the first point of contact for customers and the company, or
true, actually.
the audiences. And they if you do like anything offensive, they're not going to think, oh, it's just some idiot social media producer. They're going to blame the brand. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's a
gotta
good
be
point that you
careful.
make. I've never thought of it that way. That you actually are, if you are doing social media, you kind of are that first point of contact, because I feel like a lot of people kind of just DM people. You kind of just direct message them. It's a place that you can kind of comment it instantly. So yeah, that's a really good point that you raise. So for all the people who are out here thinking, right, okay, I'm really good at social media. I really like radio. I really like One Extra. How do you kind of take them skills, just your skills that we've got, and make them into something that's, put them on paper?
I think you've just got to get as much experience as possible. I think unfortunately in the media industry, you've got to do like just take it as it comes. That might be getting unpaid roles, which
Yeah.
personally I don't believe in, but that's just how the industry seems to be. So I did like community radio unpaid for like 7 years. I did it at university. I did it for the university station. Even in uni, I was taking up opportunities. Like I ran social media briefly for some small startup. So it's just getting as much experience as you can, and then I guess for me, getting a lucky break. Like if Creative Access hadn't come along, I wouldn't be doing this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So so just looking for like places that you can apply.
Okay. Okay, so I took a lot from there. So spoke about luck, which is natural with every job. Someone's not going to get the job naturally. So just keep hammering down them doors. Someone eventually will. Rohan's already given us a resource, which is obviously Creative Access, which also has loads and loads of job roles. And just in case if you don't find that job role that you feel like is your job role, just take any job role. Well, not
Yeah.
yeah, just take a job role and
Mm.
get your foot in the door. And once you're in
Mhm.
there, network yourself, navigate yourself, go
Mm.
into all the interviews, because at the end of the day, it's a chance for you to to be in front of the people that
Mhm.
you usually wouldn't, and have that conversation. And also keep knocking, keep telling people what you like to do,
Mhm.
keep showing it. And about your social media account, do you advise, let's say if I wanted to be a social media, if I wanted to be you, a social media producer,
Mhm.
would you advise that I keep my social media page? Does my page have to reflect that, or does it not? Does it matter?
Um, for me personally, I've only ever like been interested in running accounts for brands. So my own personal social media following, I'm not really that active on it, because I prefer doing stuff like video editing and promotion for like the One Extra brand, or in the past like various BBC Sports brands. But yeah, you've got to be careful with how you run your own social media accounts, because no matter what job, your potential employers are probably going to check up on them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you want to keep them clean. But just to go back on what you said before about you don't have to find the perfect job for you first time. I thought that was a very good point, because
That
like,
was your point. I just took your
oh, is
words.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like I always wanted to work for One Extra since I was like 13, doing community radio. But I went into like BBC Sport, which I had a little bit interest in, but it wasn't like where my heart was. And then I've managed to like get through that avenue to like where I want to
Yeah.
be now. So I just thought
Yeah.
that was the point.
Thank you. Then they were actually your words. That's what I was like. I was like summarizing from what you're saying. So yeah, that's you've made it perfectly clear now. Good advice. You got a question already, so I'm gonna read out the question. I'll put it on the screen as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
Bradley West. Forgive me, guys, if I trip over my words. It's a hot day. On the offending your audience point, how do you approach posting things that are important to post about, but could be a sensitive subject? So yeah. Do you have an example in mind, or?
So yeah, that's a really good question. You do have to be brave. So, God, I'm just trying to think of an example to phrase this. But yeah, you've got to so if you're running an account for a brand, you've got to really know your audience inside out. So I run One Extra's account. but I'm constantly watching what other accounts in the same scene are doing. So I'm looking at accounts like UK Gossip TV, Shea Borough. I'm looking at Link Up, GRM. I'm like constantly listening to podcasts on YouTube which are relevant, like say Chucky's Halfcast podcast, or even Gasworks, like shows like that, and even like the Receipts, and just knowing what the audience are talking about. So like when you post how audiences, you've got a bit of wisdom, and you're less likely to offend people. You know how audiences are currently seeing things at the minute. So you've got to be really clued up on. You've got to know your audience. You've got to know like how they think. Is there any sensitive things at the moment? But on the flip side, you've also got to be brave. You can't be always worried about offending your audience, because then you might be shooting yourself in the foot and being less entertaining than you could be. So I guess the most sensitive subjects we've been dealing with right now is probably, I guess, the Black Lives Matter movement, which has been going on now. And if you look at comments on like Facebook and Twitter, there's a lot of idiots. There are a lot of people who like we'll put we're a proud UK black music station, and that's what we're going to be online. So we're going to fully like reflect what's going on in the Black Lives Matter movement right now, and how black people in the UK are feeling. But there will be a lot of idiot comments from on our Facebook and Twitter, and we've just got to be like, all right, you ain't the audience for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't please everyone.
You can't. It's true. It's really impossible. And I feel like social media is a tricky one, because everyone can kind of respond. It gives everyone a voice, which I'm not trying to say silence people. I think it's great that everyone can speak, but sometimes in sensitive matters, you will get that one person who will say what they want to say. Thank you so much for supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, actually, BBC and yourself. It means a lot. But yeah, you spoke a lot there. We've already spoke about the skills that you kind of need to get in, or the skills that you had already. So you spoke about working hard, you spoke about just using that hobby, and you spoke about the things that you brought to the table. You spoke about how you told them that my show used to get in the most listeners, etc., etc. So now, what are the skills that are required to be a social media producer?
So I actually recently hired somebody. I've just hired a new assistant producer. So the reason why I hired this person what stood out to me was first of all their passion for the role. So anytime you do an interview, the first question you're going to get asked is either why do you want this role, or why are you the best person for this role?
Yeah.
And what they're basically asking with this question, and what they're looking for, is to see how passionate you are for this job that you're applying for. So you've really, like, when you get asked that question in interviews, you've really just got to like sell yourself and tell a bit of a story about why you're so passionate about what you're doing. And in a more practical sense, the things I'd look for a social media producer is, can you edit videos? Can you edit photos? Can you film using a DSLR camera? Can you shoot and film on an iPhone? And thirdly, like as I said before, like knowing the audience inside out. So if you're going for a job with, say, BBC Sport, you've got to know the sport audience inside out. If you're going for a job with One Extra, you've got to know music inside out. So it's being passionate, having video editing, filming, photo editing, all those like graphic design skills. And then thirdly, knowing the audience, because they're the ones you're going to be posting content to. You've got to know what they're into.
Yeah. Thank you. That was actually really useful. It's practical. It's kind of good that you've recently hired someone, because you could just really nicely pinpoint and outline exactly what that job role kind of like requires. On that, actually, Rohan, so did you have all of them skills, quickly touching back to yourself before, did you have all of them skills before?
I didn't, I've learned a lot of them on the job. So I've learned a lot of video editing. It is okay to kind of wing it a bit sometimes. So I've like picked up like a lot of video editing skills, but I've gone the extra mile by like watching tons of YouTube tutorials. So like anything you need to learn, like any practical skills you need to learn in the world of media, all on YouTube. So whether that's Photoshop, Premiere Pro, which is video editing, After Effects, which is video editing, using a DSLR camera, all on YouTube. Even like how to make the most out of social media platforms, like go the extra mile, watch YouTube tutorials, get yourself clued up. And that's how, because I used to do, my last job before this was a video editing job for the BBC Sport website. And I would, like, if I didn't have anything on a shift, I'd watch an After Effects tutorial and get better and better. And so
that actually just nearly answers my next question, because my next question was going to be about how do you keep building on them skills, but you gave like lots there, so social media. But I'm going to just take some time to just read a question that has come out, which you've already started to answer, but just to kind of like move on nicely. It says, when apply, do you need qualifications when applying?
So for me personally, when I was applying for my internship, they actually wanted a degree, and my degree wasn't really relevant in media, so I thought I think they probably shouldn't have asked for one, because I think it excluded a few other people from applying. But for me personally, it was just having experience in community radio, so that wasn't like I didn't get a qualification for doing that. But being able to say, since the age of 13, I've been doing a weekly show. When I went to uni, I did a show as well. So I think for me personally, it was the experience which is most important.
Okay. One thing that you've been talking about, since you've been talking, is about, work, obviously. But one thing I'm curious about personally is, what is the team setup? Because social media, you kind of feel like one person can run that, but for such a big brand, so what does it look like? What's there? What's behind the scenes?
You know what? It's a lot of work running like social media. It is a lot. Like it does sound mad to some people to say this, because for a lot of people it's literally just, I just post a photo of myself on my Instagram. That's not hard. But it is a lot of work. Like just so for One Extra, like all the shows we've got 24-hour station. There's a lot of shows there. Like just making video clips for those shows, like promoting the highlights from them all, and then staying on top of what's going on, like posting reactive stuff to your audience. It is a lot of work, and I think so. I've just hired an assistant recently. Before then, the social media team was basically just me, and then a content AP who worked on specialist radio shows, and that was it. Just me and this one person.
Oh, no.
Which is wild. So I've finally got an assistant producer who joined on Monday. So now it's me, an assistant producer, and a content AP. And then there's like a wider social media team in BBC Radio who work on Radio 1, Radio 2, 6 Music, Radio 4, Radio 3, and you can like draw on them for help for like big events like One Extra Live, or Big Weekend, or Glastonbury. We'll draw on the wider team for help. But on a day-to-day basis at One Extra, it's just myself and AP. So myself and 2 APs, basically, assistant producer.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on having an addition to your team, because I'm sure now you're happy, and the person you've employed is probably very happy as well. So major congrats there. You kind of really answered the next question. There was a really good question about, three things that you look for when you're looking for someone who's applied. So you've got passion, like you said, experience, like you said, and can you give us a third?
Passion, experience, skills, and knowing your audience.
Yes. So about knowing your audience, it's something like you already said, music, but there's like a wide range. So what does that really mean when someone says know your audience?
So for me, it's knowing what your competitors are doing. So that's one component. So when you go for a job interview, for any job in the media, like a very common question is going to be, what are our competitors doing, which you think we should be doing also. So if you were going for a job at One Extra, I'd really expect you to know like what our rival music stations are doing, what rival like Instagram accounts or even digital platforms like GRM and Link Up are doing. Like you just got to be aware of the other brands which are operating in the scene. and knowing the audience, I guess you've also got to be a fan of what you're doing yourself. So I guess like using One Extra as an example again, for me, like the music One Extra plays is the music I was playing on my community station back in the day. So it's just being a fan of what you do as well.
Mm-hmm. Right, you've got a lot of thank yous right now, so just thought I'll show you that. Big up yourself. Good advice. And Buddy said that was ace. Thanks, advice. So moving on now. Social media is a very good thing, but it can also be a really, really big negative thing. Do you ever find that working on social media 247 is ever overwhelming? Is it different because you work for a brand? And is there any advice that you can give to someone who maybe wants to do social media but can find it, you know, a bit of a negative place at times? Do you ever feel that backlash?
Yeah, definitely. It is. It's definitely it is a very overwhelming job because every day in work and even like scheduling for the week stuff for the weekend, you've got to turn up and you've got to like churn out content every day. So there's never a day like you can just go, I'm just going to take it easy today, because everybody's going to see that you haven't posted anything. So that's kind of like the pressure. You got to like keep the accounts running. You can't let them go silent. So that is kind of like the pressure. And then there's also the pressure, which I guess is the same with lots of jobs in the media, but promoting big occasions, like say if we have Drake coming on as a guest, or one extra live, that's like a lot of pressure in the build up. Like this is a massive event for the station. But I guess that's true with like any job in the media. Like just there is a lot of pressure. And like if you do get like an internship or you get your first job, like don't feel worried if you feel a bit scared or underconfident, because it's just completely natural and everybody goes through that. You just got to take your time to build your confidence up, because it is quite daunting working on like live broadcasts and putting content out there to the world on social media platforms.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a few questions that have come that are kind of like encompass the same thing. So we just kind of touched a little bit on the negatives of social media, just briefly. Let's go on to the positives, which obviously it grows, like you said, with your first show, it grows your audience like massively. It has the potential to grow your audience massively, and it's really, really important. So here's a question. I'm going to read it. It says, I'm currently doing a weekly feature on a local BBC station, but I'm really wanting to push myself further, diversify my skills and turn my passion into a profession. How do I go about doing that, particularly in a time where it's not easy just to head into the studio and have more hands on deck? What is the best way to engage followers?
So I guess I presume they're doing like their own podcast or show. Is that what?
Yeah, it says a weekly feature, so
Okay.
I guess either of them. Yeah.
So for me, there's a lot of podcasts on One Extra, and I think the best way of promoting those podcasts is to visualize them, because once you visualize them, you get far nicer social media content that people are going to engage with than say if you do something which, if you don't have video, you're going to have to do something on social media called an audiogram, which is basically just like the audio and then text on top, which doesn't look good. So can you film your feature? And if you do film your feature, you want to go straight to the best bits when you post it. And what I mean by that is you don't want to be putting up like a whole 30-minute feature. You want to be you want to go straight to the punchline. And that is a real skill, like in social media, being able to listen to a 2-hour radio show and go, this bit is a sick clip, this bit's a good clip, just knowing what's going to bang online and being able to make it dead short and punchy. That's really like how to push that feature further. And also to go a step further, so on One Extra we do a lot of making video clips from our radio shows, but what really makes the most impact is when we've gone above and beyond and done something bespoke. So what I mean by that is doing something which is social media first. So instead of just clipping up a bit of live radio, we'll get one of the guests to do something purely for social media, and that's a great way of promoting a show. So that could be, in the past, I've got like Rio Ferdinand to watch UK rap videos on an iPad and then like review them. And then that did massive because he posted it on his account, and it's just entertaining to see like Rio, who you wouldn't necessarily know is like a fan of NSG.
Yeah.
Like bopping along and then like commenting on like the video saying why have they got what he said why have they got a Rolls Royce on this estate, this is mad, like just like little funny sound bites like that.
Yeah.
And another example is with H. So One Extra Live, a bit of bespoke content we made was just getting him to explain Manchester slang. So I gave him like few cards and he was like explaining what our kid meant, what like gaff meant and all this. And that did, I think that had like over 1 million views on Facebook.
Yeah.
So that did a hell of a lot better than say just clipping up a bit of live radio.
Yeah.
So
I've got 2 questions that coming out of that.
Cool.
Oh yeah, go on. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Sorry about that. So 2 questions that coming out from that. So you spoke a lot about bespoke content. Do you always, when you don't get to do the bespoke content, do you have to listen to the whole show? Because obviously you cannot anticipate. How does it work? Does the presenter say to you, right, we're going to have, I saw a really funny clip actually, I think it was of Louis Theroux. And do the presenter say to you, right, we're going to do a feature of Louis Theroux and he's going to be rapping or he's going to be talking about grime songs? Or do you listen to the whole show and actually have to find that?
So it's a bit of both. So sometimes they'll have, so when they've got a big guest on, say like Louis Theroux, or let's say Krept and Conan were on before lockdown promoting their new album, the radio teams will have like a feature already planned that they're going to have. So you're like aware of what time they're coming in, you know what feature they're doing. You've got a bit of a heads up with regards to how it's going to look on social. So I think with the Krept and Conan example, they did like a how well do you know each other game. So they like answered each other's asked each other questions. So that you already know what to expect. But with other things, like let's say I don't know if anyone here listened to One Extra Talks a couple of weeks ago. So this was all about like the Black Lives Matter protests and just like generally how people in the UK were feeling right now. Like that was it was scripted, but you didn't know what the contributors were going to say exactly.
Yeah.
So with that, it was a 2-hour show, and it's listening out for like those moments of gold. And we got a few of them. One of the clips, it was a caller from Bolton who called in, and clipping it up, it's now had like 100,000 views on Instagram. So for some live shows, it really is just listening out for those moments of gold. But yeah, there's also an element of like knowing what you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. That leads us into a question that I've just got in my phone. If I look down, guys, I'm getting questions in. So it says, how do you schedule what you post? And is it the same content across all the social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc.? Because another thing that you just said there is obviously you're talking about shows that are happening and then you've listened back. So do you only post afterwards? Is it promoting, I know you did talk about like an event, or do you promote like towards a particular show that's going to be coming up, or is it that just like you just post funny things to just keep that brand? How does it go? How do you work out that schedule?
A
big question. Sorry.
So it is, it's cool. It's cool. So really, for me, it's just kind of as and when. It doesn't always have to tie in with live radio. I think you've got to see. So if anyone here is running their own radio show and promoting it on socials, like you really don't have to worry about timings of your posts with regards to your show. I'd say like you want to be entertaining your audiences on radio and then trying to entertain them on social separately. You've got to see them as 2 separate audiences. Okay. So what even accounts in the BBC still do this. They do like tweets like 10 minutes before a show saying coming up in 10 minutes so and so's doing a set. And really that has like no impact at all, because social media is not a TV guide or a radio guide. Social media is for like banter, breaking news, opinionated content. It's for like it's social. It's not a TV guide. So you don't ever get too tied up with like timing to post. Like, but with the exception of, say, if we have a massive guest on like Drake, then obviously I will be doing the coming up in an hour we've got Drake kind of post, because that's still in the ban.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to see social media and radio as two separate audiences.
Thank you so much for defining that, because I feel like no one would have got that advice anywhere else, guys. You wouldn't have got that unless you were here. And honestly, it's true. Now I'm thinking about it, I think I'm definitely guilty of doing like, oh yeah, my show's in this long. And you think about it, like when I see that, I'm not really. Firstly, usually by the time I've gone onto social media, it's gone.
Exactly.
Or yeah, and like it's just I get it. It's about, it is true. The things that do well are like the banter and the reactions, and yeah. So thank you so much for telling us that and just defining them points. That's very, very practical. You've got another question here in the comment box, so I'm going to put that up on the screen. It says, which platforms do you get the best engagement from? Do you tailor content for each one?
Yeah, definitely. So our biggest platform for an extra, hands down, is Instagram. So we get, like, from post to post, we get more engagements than any other platform. But having said that, when things go viral for us, they get far bigger views on Twitter and Facebook. Okay. Just because with Twitter and Facebook, you can share content to all your followers like that. And that has a massive impact compared to Instagram, where you can share other people's posts in your stories. You can
you have to press it,
yeah, you can DM them like individually to people, and you can rip the video and put it on your account, but then the person you've ripped it from doesn't get those views, so that doesn't add up for us. And there's no like instant share button to all of your followers. So Twitter and Facebook has that, and that's why when we have a clip which goes viral, it'll do much bigger on those platforms. But on a day-to-day basis, Instagram like gets us far more engagements than anything else.
Okay, yeah. Again, thank you, because that's really like, I guess it's about, that's another question actually. Do you have to understand how each platform kind of like works and how people kind of engage with each platform? Because I guess I would have never really thought about, that's very true. Yeah, that's really true. Like now, because you're saying it, I'm now reviewing myself and having to think and thinking, yeah, that's very true. I engage like this.
Yeah, 100%. So on Instagram right now, the things which are popping off the most for us are IGTV videos, so Instagram TV, which is long form video, and that's purely because the platform are promoting that type of content more than anything else. So they will bend the algorithm in your favor to get your Instagram TVs viewed more than any other post. And you've got to always be watching like what these accounts are doing, because that hasn't always been the case. When they first released Instagram TV, it was completely dead because none of those posts went in people's feeds, but they flipped that on its head. And now that Instagram TVs are seen in people's feeds, they do massive numbers. Carousel posts on Instagram do big for us, because if you have multiple things, if you post multiple things in one post, it's going to appear on people's timelines more than once. And photos, Instagram's a photo app, so photos do really well. But what we're finding right now is short 1 minute clips from shows, which used to do really well, now don't get very much interaction at all, which is wild. So yeah, you've got to be aware of what each platform's doing and tailor your content. Another example is Facebook at the minute. They've recently switched up their algorithm, so they only promote videos which are 3 minutes and a half or longer. So short videos on Facebook don't get any kind of engagements. They also promote news stories, which might not be useful for everybody watching this, but just to get a sense of how to tailor each content, like Facebook promote news stories a lot, so that's why I post a lot of breaking news, and that does really big numbers for us. And then yeah, I guess like photos do much bigger on, say, Instagram than on Twitter. So I guess it's a lot of trial and error. Like they switch up the algorithms a lot, so you've just got to keep an eye on what's going on. But yeah, you've got to tailor your content for each platform differently.
Thank you. Again, like really, really useful resources, like practical, like literally full of gems. You wouldn't hear that everywhere else, but you kept using this word, algorithms. Imagine if I wasn't able to say that just now. That would have been so embarrassing. But you kept using that word. And obviously, like, even from when you are a social media content producer, but, you know, you're not timeless. So, you know, you might be really keen and really fluent in Facebook, but then by the time that you have been there for a long time, you know, you get TikTok and you get Snapchat and you get all of these other posts. How do you kind of stay relevant? And is there a way that we can go and, as a public user, find out about algorithms and, you know, how they're being used? And when Instagram has now decided to promote this, is there a way that you can actually find that out?
Yeah, I wish there's a lot of websites you can check up on. I wish I had the list of them in front of me, but
It's okay.
there's a lot of websites, social media based, which keep you up to date with the latest news for what each platform is doing. So yeah, just do a quick Google search for that. But yeah, I guess working in the BBC, we work closely with these platforms, so we do get a heads up from now and then when they're introducing new things. So One Extra is actually one of the first accounts on Instagram. There's only a handful of accounts which have got this to have the new guides feature. So yeah, go check that out on One Extra's Instagram page, because not everybody has this yet. So this is like a guide feature, is a new way to like curate posts from your timeline.
Okay.
So if you have, so like for Station One Extra, I've done it all on like educating about our One Extra talk shows, which are just dealing with like what's going on in the UK at the minute. So definitely go check that out. But yeah, just there's a lot of websites which will keep you up to date with what's going on.
Okay, thank you so much. Hopefully we can, you know, I'll pick your brains after this Zoom, not Zoom, after this
This is so much better than a Zoom. I'm so surprised how
I didn't know. Big up Solomon, because he found it, and I had no idea what StreamYard was. When he was like, "Oh, we're gonna do StreamYard," I was like, "What's that?" But it's so much easier, so much more efficient. So yeah, big up yourself. So a question that's come through is, what do you think of the Pi Radio socials, and which content does he enjoy the most? Any advice he gives to a young person managing the socials?
You know what I love? I actually before you got in contact with me, I was following Pi Radio, and I absolutely love Tilly's like talent search. Like that is wild. That is incredible content. Just like going to these schools and yeah, it's sick. It's so sick. And I have been following Pi Radio, and like you're good at keeping up with like breaking news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like the socials, and I think you got a few thousand followers, right? Like how many is it on now? Like almost 20K or more. So that's impressive. That's very impressive for a community station.
Thank you. Big up Pi Radio. Big up Matilda. Big up the people behind the social media. Big up Solomon. The lot. Thank you so much, Rohan, for he did say that. You did say that. I remember. I was like, oh, okay. You were like, yeah, I love Pi Radio. I was like, okay, good. That's really nice to hear. So moving on, we've spoken a lot there, to be honest. But how would you, just to like I guess I'm kind of going into summary now, guys. So if you've got any questions, doesn't mean that we're going to end, but send me all the questions. I'm kind of like starting to summarize now. So we spoke a lot, but realistically, if I'm starting at a low level, if you could just summarize, if I'm starting at a low level, how do I take my social media experience and get myself a job?
Oh man, it's tricky. I guess there's no like one fits all answer.
There's not,
to that question. I guess for me personally, it was just getting as much experience like using social media for companies as possible, whether that was for like when I used to do community station, or like when I got into the job, when I got into my first internship, making sure like I was just trying to do as much social media in my role as possible. I guess it's just like trying to get as much experience as you can. Can you do it? Can you like get some like work experience for some brands? Can you help people out here and there? Yeah, there's no one fit answer, but you just got to have a bit of luck and perseverance.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So let's try and run down nearly everything we spoke about for nearly an hour. So if you're in, stop me anytime, by the way, just jump in. If you're in a community show, or you're still at that passion stage, take your passion very seriously. Utilize all your talents. Again, you gave us a resource, which is creative access, and there's probably other resources out there. I can't really think of any, but there's a few talent managers, and LinkedIn now is a place. Just put yourself on there, try and network yourself to get yourself that job. Again, if by like Rohan did, by using his beginning stage, let's say, by using his passion, his community station as a really, really taking it seriously and using it as that first step, you manage to then have like literally some certification to put behind it. So you manage to go into a station and say, listen, my show is the highest viewed, the highest listened to. So again, just bear that in mind and push that, because you never know what you might need, what's going to be the difference between you and another candidate. Again, network yourself when you get into any job, whatever job that is. If it's that job that's going to get your foot in the door, network yourself. Keep badgering on about, I like doing this, this is what I'm good at. Volunteer, help out, whatever it may be. And then once you get there, obviously, I guess some can call it luck, some call it blessings, whatever it may be. You know, sometimes the difference of why you didn't get a job is just because you didn't get the job. Just keep going, perseverance, like Rohan just said. Again, once we've moved on to when you're inside One Extra, he got his job. Congratulations, actually. I like the fact that you said that was the job that you really wanted and you managed to get that job. So once you're in One Extra, you kind of worked your way up. Again, just stay knowing your audience. By that, he means, you know, listening to all the shows, being aware of all the competitors, and listening to the shows that are even being played out on One Extra to be able to get them good gems. Understand social media, why people view it, which I think that's my biggest takeaway from now. Because I feel like I hear this word, but I think because social media is something that we're so like, we understand. We just hear that word so often that it's just, oh yeah, social media. But actually understanding that there is actually a pattern to social media and starting to kind of like try to break down and unpick them patterns and like, you know, algorithms, how do I use it? What are you usually looking for when you're on Instagram? What are you kind of looking for when you're on Facebook? So all of that's helped you kind of stay updated, understand the trends and understand exactly what to post. Don't be fooled. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. So that's something as well that we've all learned today. You gave us some really nice 4 tips that you kind of like outlined for when applying for jobs, which is like passion. You said experience, you said skills, and knowing your audience once again. So there's some good things that you said from that. I feel like I've covered quite a lot there that you said. And then again, you know, being aware of which each platform does and knowing to not necessarily time your posts, but knowing what content to post on which platform. And yeah, I feel like, Rohan, is there anything that I've missed out? You do have a question, which I'll get to in a second, but is there anything from that rundown that I might have missed out?
No, I just think it's important. One thing to add about job interviews, like, don't ever be disheartened if you're going for like these internships or like entry level jobs and not getting them. Like,
for real,
you've got to see interviews as a game, and you've got to learn how to play the game of interviews. And you do that by, if you get a knockback, like make sure you get feedback from the people who interviewed you. And so I've been, just because the way the media works is there's a lot of like short-term roles. So since joining the BBC, like I think like 4 or 5 years ago now, I think I've done 15 job interviews in that time, which is wild. And I've got like four of them, maybe 4 or 5 out of 15. So I've had a lot of knockbacks, and it's just important like to come prepared, like show how passionate you are and just know how to play the game. So yeah, I think that's important advice for anyone starting out.
Honestly, if I could talk about exactly what you just said, like don't be disheartened. I spent as soon as I come out of uni, I was disheartened for a long time, and honestly I always regret it now because I'm like, oh gosh, like I should have just, you know, asked for feedback, got back on my feet. Like, you know, it's definitely a game. So there's a question that's come through here. Thanks for the add-on, by the way. That was great. Bradley West, it says, how do you go about starting to build a following on your socials? I want to get more engaged. I want to get more people engaged and promote my show, but I'm starting from zero.
So I guess try reaching out. One thing that we even do at One Extra is reaching out. If we've got a piece of content that we think is sick, we will reach out to other accounts, DM them the video, and get them to help cross promote us. So this is great for reaching new audiences because they've got a large following. They'll tag you, and it just helps get your brand out there. So if you've got a piece of content that you think's absolute fire, like don't just keep it to your account. Like send it out there to other accounts and see if it's something they're interested in, and make sure they credit you. And then that's a way to build up. You can also do things like just looking out for what Instagram hashtags or Twitter hashtags are popular with your followers? What hashtags do they follow on Instagram mainly? So that's one way of getting people to see your content, even if you don't have followers, and just seeing what's trending for that day. So what's trending on Twitter, can you add to that conversation? And then that's a way of people seeing your content, even though you don't have any followers at the moment.
Thank you. I hope that really answers your question, because I feel like that was good. Again, really practical and resourceful advice for everything that you've given. And so thank you so much for joining us with such great gems. That's exactly why we have people here and do these masterclasses, because it's literally industry experience that you wouldn't have thought. Like, again, cross advertisement, you know, that's something that you probably sometimes might be a bit reluctant to do. But again, like you said, as long as that person, you know, credits you, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's some people who probably do my job in other bits of the BBC who get annoyed when people rip their content. But honestly, it's the biggest compliment anyone can give you. And so always make sure you brand your content, because if it's sick, people will rip it and do what they want with it. So always make sure. So if you look at One Extra, we've got like the One Extra logo in the top right of the video. It starts off with a big One Extra sign at the beginning. So yeah, make sure you brand it, because people will rip it. You got to see.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah, you can't stop it. Even the big BBC can't stop him.
Thank you so much, Rohan. To be honest, I've really enjoyed it. What I'll do is we'll just hang about for like 1 minute, guys. So if anyone has a question, I've got a timer on. It's already on. We've got 1 minute. But while we just wait on people to ask any questions, can I just say it's been really, really enjoyable. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, such a hot day, but you made the time. Have fun in Manchester. How long are you down for?
I think for the week, and then head back to London. Yeah, but thank you for having me.
You're most welcome.
Manny. Oh, thank you
so much for your rest. There you go. And yeah, you've had a lot of like thank yous as we've gone on there. So yeah, that's really good. Thank you for being patient with me and my speech today.
Oh, no worries. You smashed it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So guys, we've got 15 seconds left. 15 seconds. I'll probably, what I was saying earlier is I'll probably pick your brains after this, and maybe if we can get some resources to post on Pi Radio, so creative access, things that, you know, we might know, you might know, that not everyone else knows. So we can post that for people to be able to have a look at. Yeah. And that's it. It's been a minute, guys. So there's no questions. I'm going to take that as we're all good, and I'm going to take that as everyone is out there enjoying the sun. So Rohan, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, sweet. Oh, you can watch, guys. I've got a helper in here who always is here to prompt me. Yes. It basically means that you can watch this back on YouTube, and it will be all plugged in for you. So if you were too busy out in the sun today, you're welcome. All right. See you later.